Hi guys, I'm Marie of Irishmuscle and we're here today on the Vitamin Shop Tour in Cork, and I'm standing right here now with Neil Browne. Neil, it's been 3 weeks since the Worlds. What did you think?
I thought it was a very good standard this year, Anne-Marie. I thought it was a very well show that Paul Byrne put together, to be fair. I thought the Irish team looked very, very well. Few surprises in general in the show, coming in with placings and everything else, but yeah, it was right up there with the best World Championships that I've seen or that I've been to.
Can you just remind us again, what category did you compete in?
I competed in Class 2.
And were you happy?
I was very happy with the preparation right up until a couple of days out, and I think I kind of messed around with my water, my potassium sodium a little bit, and I wasn't 100% happy on the day, and I paid the price for that, and as a result of it I lost a few placings. So coming off top 3 finish of the Worlds back in 2008, that was disappointing for me, because I know I can do a lot better. I don't know, would the placings have mattered on the day, would have made it better, would have made it worse, but I was a little bit disappointed. But it's a gamble and it's a lottery, and this is the way it goes. I mean, it doesn't always pan out exactly. You see some years guys coming in on, some years guys coming in off. It's pretty hard to nail it every single time out. So, but in general, I was pretty pleased with the effort and the transformation, and I suppose the whole journey of the diet and the training and watching the body transform. But in terms of the placing, I was a little bit disappointed.
Well, it looked great, so fair play to you. You should be very proud of yourself. Come here, can you tell me, where do you train in Cork?
I train in Dennehy's gym in Ballincollig.
Okay, and how's your diet right now?
The diet's pretty good now since the show was 3 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks from Saturday. Basically what all I did for a couple of days after, I just allowed myself to eat whatever pretty much I wanted to do, and then I just go back to, I eat pretty clean anyway, so like back to steak, rice, those kind of diet, boring foods kind of, you know what I mean, for the most part. But yeah, I'm a big believer in you're putting quality in and putting quality on, and I think especially after a show you've kind of gotten like a window. It's like almost like a natural anabolic window where you're going to gain. So obviously feeding the body with tons of junk at that stage, I don't think is the ideal way to go, because it's just going to reflect after a couple of weeks. So you can do it for a couple of days and just get out of your system, and if you crave something, get rid of it. But I think for the most part, you want to get right back on track with a good diet. So
you're training hard, yeah? Yeah,
the training's going good now again, no injuries, and I always take a couple of weeks off after anyway, just to let the joints and everything return to normal. I don't go rushing back to the gym after a week or 2 weeks. A lot of guys do that. I've done that in the past, and I find after maybe about a month in that I don't want to be doing it. You have to give yourself a break. You have to fully hydrate your body after the diet, after dehydration mode and everything else, and you have to fuel it, and you need plenty of rest, because the months leading up to the diet, you're training when you should be sleeping, you're sleeping when you should be training, and your body's just all over the place really, and your hormones and everything are all over the place. So I like to take a couple of weeks off. I like to just get back, usually after about 2 or 3 weeks. Any kind of weight gain that I've gained is going to stop at that. Pretty much is going to pretty much cap it at that, and then I like to get back training then.
Sonia, what are your plans for the future now?
Well, I spoke to Paul about the next shows and everything else, and I've been competing in Class 2, as I said, which is a height class. It's up to 179 centimetres. So me with my height being 5'9", that obviously is within that. I'm at the age of 38 now, and I probably won't compete next year. I'll give it another year, and the plan is to do the Masters, which is a 40 years plus, because I just feel for me it's a more realistic chance of getting a better place. Now the standard in Masters this year was outstanding. It was probably one of the best. They're still talking about it now, how good it was. So again, that's a gamble in itself. You could go into a category like that thinking that you're in with a chance, and you might do something that you think is going to make you look better, might make you look 10 times worse, and you end up last as a result. It's a risk that you take, but I just feel that I got to be realistic, and I'm competing in a category where the guys are chasing pro cards, and they're coming in, they're semi-pros, and they're coming from. It's not excuses. This is the reality. These are the facts that are involved, and when you see the guys coming in like maybe 10 years younger, semi-professional, chasing pro cards and everything else, it's a lot harder to compete with that. And I don't see how I'm going to make the improvements in 2 years to be able to do that. So I spoke to Paul, and we spoke about possibly doing the Masters, and he was happy enough with it, and I'd like to give it a try, because it's a little bit different. Like the Masters category is just, the only criteria is 40 years and over, so you you've kind of all shapes and sizes. You've got guys that are coming in 6'2", 6'3". You've got guys coming in 5'2", 5'3". You know, so it's not you know, it'll be easier for me now not to play a size game.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing all along, trying to compete with these guys, 100 kilos, 105 kilos, trying to put the weight on off season, trying to lose it coming up to the show, maintain, you know, muscle weight and this and that. It, you know, as long as I get my condition for the Masters, I think I'm in with a reasonable chance.
I wish you the best of luck for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Come here, can you tell me a little bit about bodybuilding in Cork? Is it popular down here?
Yeah, it is popular in Cork, and it has been, and I suppose we got a kind of a good a powerlifting background. It was always more or less to do with powerlifting. Cork champions, powerlifting, Munster champions were always held here in Cork. There were actually a guy that we met actually earlier here in the shop, a fella called Tim Wallace, would have been one of the first guys that had pioneered that in the mid 80s, and he won a few Mr. Ireland titles, as did his brother Frank. They competed on the international scene.
Wow, yeah.
And so that's going back 30 years ago, and Tim has had a gym since then, and he still has that gym now. So it has always had a good following, and has always had a good tradition here in Cork. Yeah.
And obviously you learn from these guys as well, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. I started training when I started training first. Hardcore gym was one of the first gyms that I went to, and over the time that I got to know Tim, he was very, very useful, very helpful, especially when he started competing in 2000, and he was finished like a long time at that stage, and his brother Frank had left out of training because of a bad injury, but they were still on hand to help me, and that was the year that 2000 I competed in the intermediate title, which I won, and I went back the following year and won the senior title to get on the Irish team, and it just went from there then. I remember thinking at the time, if I didn't get a result at those shows, I was not going to do it again. It was so bloody hard, like, you know what I mean? But with those guys on board and what I did and the facilities that we had in the gym and everything else and all the knowledge they gave me about nutrition and supplements, it worked, and yeah, I'm forever grateful about that. Yeah, sure.
Can I ask you one more question as well?
Can, of course.
How long have you been bodybuilding?
So I'm 38 now, so I'm doing probably about 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah, probably, yeah. So
Learn a few things from you anyway.
well, as I said, like I started probably about 18. I didn't start competing until I was 26.
Who inspired you?
Who inspired me? Do you know something? Probably as long as I can remember, I was always just fascinated with the look of the bodybuilding. I just even as a kid watching, you know, because I'm 38 years of age now, so I can remember probably a lot of guys wouldn't. Like a lot younger, the Hulk in the 70s, you know, Lou Ferrigno and the Schwarzenegger films and everything else, and I was just amazed how the hell these guys can look the way they do. I just couldn't. I was like, how is this possible? And you know, I always was interested, but I couldn't find answers. We didn't have the internet at that stage, and we didn't have, you know, everything that's available now. So, but it was just always on my mind, and when I had an opportunity to start it, then I took it up. And as I said, when I went to hardcore, the hardcore gym, like, because where I lived at the time was in Cove, so I had to get a train because I was still at school and I didn't have a car and I didn't have access to transport, only the train. So it was a bit of a train ride to go to the gym and the train and to come back and everything else. But as soon as I started, I fell in love with it, just straight away. And you know, I've always said, you know, the competition side is great and all that, and I've done well. You know, I've done well in the Irish national titles over the years, and every Irish show that I've done, I've won and gone on to the international show with the help of Paul Byrne, starting in AB in 2004. Made a top 3 finish, as I said, in 2008, so I'm pleased with the results in terms of that. But if I didn't compete, it wouldn't bother me because I'd still be in the gym training, you know, and it always goes back to that. Like, well, it always goes back to this kind of you know, thing, whether you're competing or not. I think it always goes back to how you got involved in the first place, and it's just the feel of the weights and the training. It's just you know, when you're in it, it's as simple as, it may be hard to explain to people that aren't in it, but when you get into it and you know, you just fall in love with it. And when you're out of it for a long time, then you're itching to get back into it as quickly as possible. So that's about it.
You know something, Neil, thanks very much for your time.
No problem at all.
Great seeing. I'm sure we'll see you again in the future. Right, thank you very much. Right, you're very good. Right, thanks, William. Right, thanks.
Cheers.